Jae-ho Kim looked at the numbers on his computer screen and smiled. The mining operation on New Busan was doing better than anyone had expected. The colony had been built only 5 years ago on this distant planet, but already they were pulling more rare metals from the ground than 3 older colonies combined. He stood up from his desk and walked to the big window that looked out over the settlement. Hundreds of people were going about their daily work. Children played in the small park between the housing blocks. The air recycling plants hummed quietly in the distance. Everything was peaceful and normal. Jae-ho had been the colony administrator for 2 years now. Before that, he had worked on Earth in the Colonial Planning Office. He had always dreamed of living on another world, and New Busan had given him that chance. The planet was not like Earth. The sky was more purple than blue, and the sun was smaller and redder. But it was home now. His communication device beeped. Dr. Hai-Jin Park was calling from the research station on the other side of the valley. She was a scientist who studied alien life forms, though this planet had very little life on it, mostly just some simple plants and small animals. Jae-ho, are you seeing anything strange on your sensors? Hai-Jin asked. Her voice sounded worried. Jae-ho walked over to the main control panel. All the screens showed normal readings. Everything looks fine here. What are you seeing? There are some energy readings coming from space. Very big ones. And they're getting closer. Jae-ho felt his stomach tighten. Unknown energy readings usually meant trouble. Could it be a supply ship coming early? No, this is nothing like our ships. The energy pattern is completely different. And there are multiple contacts, at least a dozen large objects. Before Jae-ho could answer, alarms started going off all over the colony. The main screen lit up with warnings. His deputy, Min-soo, came running into the control room. Sir, we have unknown ships coming out of hyperspace right above us, Min-soo said, breathing hard. Jae-ho looked up through the window. The purple sky was changing. Dark shapes were appearing, blocking out the red sun. The ships were huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. They looked like they were made of crystal or glass, and they seemed to bend the light around them. Get Captain Minho on the communication system, Jae-ho ordered. Now. Captain Minho Lee commanded the colonial defense ship called Cheonji. It was a small frigate with basic weapons, designed to fight off pirates or smugglers. It was not built to fight a real military force. Minho's face appeared on the screen. He was on the bridge of his ship, and Jae-ho could see other crew members running around behind him. Jae-ho, we're seeing them too. 12 large vessels, unknown design. They're not responding to any of our communication attempts. What do you think they want? Jae-ho asked. I don't know, but they're not here to talk. My weapons officer says they're charging some kind of energy weapons. Big ones. Suddenly the ground shook. Through the window, Jae-ho saw a bright flash of light hit the mining station on the far side of the settlement. The entire building simply disappeared. Where it had been, there was now only empty ground that glowed with heat. They're attacking, Min-soo shouted. More flashes of light came from the alien ships. Each beam hit a different building or structure. The power plant vanished. The water treatment facility was gone. The aliens were not trying to capture anything, they were destroying everything. All colonists to the emergency shelters. Jae-ho announced over the colony-wide communication system. This is not a drill. Get to the shelters now. People were running in all directions. Parents grabbed their children. Workers dropped their tools and ran for cover. But the underground shelters had been built to protect against storms and accidents, not alien weapons. Captain Minho's ship, the Cheonji, flew up toward the alien vessels. It fired its missiles and energy guns at the nearest crystal ship. The weapons hit the alien vessel but seemed to do no damage at all. The alien ship simply absorbed the attacks. Then the crystal ship turned toward the Cheonji. A beam of intense light reached out and touched the human frigate. The ship began to glow and then broke apart into pieces. Captain Minho's last message came through the communication system. They're not taking prisoners. They're not taking anything. They just want us gone. Dr. Hai-Jin called again from her research station. Jae-ho, I'm recording everything. These beings are not interested in conquest or resources. They're performing systematic extermination. Every target they hit is completely destroyed down to the molecular level. Another beam hit the colony's main residential block. 300 people lived there. Now there was nothing but a glowing crater. Jae-ho felt sick. He had been responsible for these people's safety, and now they were dying. Hai-Jin, you need to get to an escape pod, he said. Send all your data to Earth. They need to know what happened here. Already done. But Jeho, there's something else. I'm detecting similar energy signatures from 16 other locations. I think they're attacking other colonies at the same time. The building shook again. Through the window, Jeho could see that most of New Busan was already gone. The aliens were working their way through every structure methodically. Soon they would reach the administration building where he stood. He activated the emergency beacon that would send a distress signal to Earth. The message was simple. New Busan under attack by unknown alien force. Total destruction in progress. All defense forces destroyed. Estimated time to complete colony loss 30 minutes. The last thing Jeho saw was a brilliant flash of light coming toward his window. Dr. Hyejin's escape pod launched, just in time to record the final moments of New Busan colony before it joined the 15 other human settlements that vanished that day. 2 million humans were dead, and somewhere in the crystal ships above the ruined colonies, alien minds were already planning their next attack. Admiral So-Young Choi walked through the long tunnels deep inside Luna Base. Her footsteps echoed off the metal walls. She had not been in this part of the base for 20 years, but she remembered the way. Some paths you never forget, especially when they lead to humanity's darkest secrets. Behind her walked Admiral Dongmin Han, the newly appointed fleet commander. He was young for such an important job, only 45 years old. But the attack on the colonies had changed everything. Earth needed its best military minds working on the problem, and Dongmin was one of the smartest officers in the fleet. How long has it been sealed? Dongmin asked as they walked deeper into the base. 60 years, So-Young answered. Since the end of the development program. We all hoped we would never need to open it again. They reached a massive door made of some dark metal that seemed to absorb light. There were no windows, no signs, nothing to show what was behind it. The only marking was a simple number. 7. So-Young placed her hand on a scanner next to the door. A red light scanned her palm, then her eyes, then took a small sample of her blood. After a moment, the scanner beeped and turned green. Authorization confirmed. Admiral So-Young Choi, Project Dragon access approved, a computer voice said. The massive door began to open slowly. It was 3 meters thick and moved like it weighed as much as a building. Behind it was another tunnel that led down into darkness. What exactly is Project Dragon? Dongmin asked. The answer to a question we hoped we would never have to ask, So-Young said. What do you do when normal weapons are not enough? They walked down the tunnel for 10 minutes. At the end was another door, smaller but just as secure. This one needed both of their handprints to open. When it finally did, lights came on automatically inside. Dr. Taejun Seo was waiting for them in a small office. He was an old man now, with white hair and deep lines on his face. But his eyes were still sharp and intelligent. He had been the chief engineer of Project Dragon from the beginning. Admiral Choi. Admiral Han, he said, standing up from his desk. I had hoped I would never see you down here. The colony attacks changed everything, So-Young said. We need to know if the Dragon fleet is still functional. Taejun nodded sadly. It is. We have been maintaining the ships and the crews in stasis for 60 years. Everything is ready just as we planned. He led them to another room filled with computer screens and control panels. On the main screen was a diagram that showed 12 large ships arranged in a circle around a central command station. Let me explain what you are looking at, Taejun said. In 2089, our deep space exploration teams found evidence of an ancient civilization on a planet near the galactic core. These beings had been incredibly advanced, far more than us. But something had destroyed them completely. Every trace of their existence had been wiped out. Dongmin studied the diagram. The ships were huge. Each one was 2 kilometers long and half a kilometer wide. They looked more like cities than spacecraft. We found their historical records, Taejun continued. They called their destroyers the Cleaners, a species that traveled from star to star, removing what they considered to be inferior life forms. The ancient civilization had tried to fight back with conventional weapons. It had not worked. So you built something unconventional, Dongmin said. We built something that breaks the rules, So-Young said. Ships that use technology we barely understand, crewed by people who are more than human. Taejun activated another screen. It showed the inside of one of the ships. The corridors were dark and empty, but they were clearly designed for humans. Everything looked normal except for the strange blue glow that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The ships use quantum displacement drives that allow them to phase in and out of normal space. Taejun explained. They can appear anywhere, attack, and disappear before the enemy can respond. Their hulls are made from exotic matter that makes them nearly indestructible. And the crews? Dongmin asked. That is the difficult part, So Young said. Normal humans cannot operate these ships. The technology requires mental and physical capabilities that baseline humans do not have, so we enhance them. Taejun pulled up another file. It showed medical records and genetic modification charts. Each Dragon crew member underwent extensive genetic therapy and received neural implants that connect them directly to their ship's systems. They can think as fast as computers and react faster than any normal human. What was the cost? Dongmin asked. We do not know, Taejun admitted. The enhancement process changes people in ways we did not fully understand. The original test crews showed signs of personality changes. They became more focused on mission objectives and less concerned with human things. So Young walked over to another screen that showed a list of names. At the top was Captain Yoo-jin Bae. She was the best pilot in the original program. Brilliant, dedicated, and completely fearless. She has been in stasis for 60 years waiting for the day we would need her again. Is that day today? Dongmin asked. Before anyone could answer, an aide ran into the room. Admirals, we just received word from the outer colonies. The aliens have attacked 3 more systems. The colony ships trying to evacuate are being hunted down and destroyed. They are not letting anyone escape. So Young looked at Dongmin. The decision is yours, Admiral. You are fleet commander now. Dongmin stared at the screens showing the Dragon ships. 12 vessels that could fight a war that normal ships could not win. But at what cost? The enhanced crews might save humanity, but would they still be human themselves when the fighting was over? How long to activate the fleet? He asked. 6 hours to wake the crews and power up the ships, Taejun said. 12 hours to reach the battle zone. Do it, Dongmin said. Wake the dragons. Alarms began sounding throughout Sector 7. Technicians who had maintained the ships for 60 years started the activation sequence. In 12 separate stasis chambers, enhanced humans began to wake up from their long sleep. Captain Yoo-jin Bae opened her eyes for the first time in 6 decades. Her body felt young and strong, exactly as it had been when she went into stasis, but something was different. Through her neural implants, she could feel her ship calling to her. The Baeko was waking up too, and it was hungry for battle. Soon the aliens would learn what happened when humanity had no choice but to unleash its dragons. Captain Yoo-jin Bae stood on the bridge of the Baeko and felt the ship's heartbeat through her neural implants. After 60 years of sleep, both she and her vessel were finally awake again. The sensation was like being reunited with a lost part of herself. Around her, the bridge crew moved with perfect coordination. Each crew member had the same neural implants that connected them to the ship's systems. They could think and react faster than any normal human. Their enhanced bodies could handle the extreme forces that the ship's advanced systems produced. Status report, Yoo-jin said, though she already knew the answer through her connection to the ship's computers. All systems optimal. Her weapons officer, Lieutenant Sung-ho Park, replied, Quantum displacement drive is fully charged. Void Lance is ready for deployment. Through the main view screen, Yoo-jin could see the other 11 Dragon ships of the fleet. Each one was a masterpiece of human engineering and alien technology combined. The ships looked like they were made of liquid metal that constantly shifted and changed. Blue energy flowed through channels in their hulls like blood through veins. Admiral Dongmin Han's voice came through the communication system from the flagship Cheongryong. Dragon Fleet, we have reached the Kepler 186 system. Intelligence reports indicate the aliens have established a major staging area here. 300 enemy vessels are present, Yoo-jin smiled. 300 ships against 12. The odds would have been impossible for any normal fleet. But the Dragon Fleet was not normal. Baeko to all Dragon ships, she transmitted. Remember your training. We are not here to fight a battle. We are here to end a war. Show them why they should have left humanity alone. The alien fleet was spread across the star system like a cloud of deadly insects. The largest ships were massive crystal structures that looked like they had been grown rather than built. Smaller vessels moved between them in perfect formations. Dr. Hyejin Park watched the approaching battle from a safe distance aboard a human observation ship. She had survived the destruction of New Busan and now served as a scientific advisor to the fleet. Through her sensors, she could see both the alien armada and the 12 Dragon ships approaching. Admiral Han, the alien ships are moving into defensive positions, she reported. They seem to be treating you as a conventional threat. They will learn better soon enough, Admiral Han replied from the Cheongryong. The Dragon fleet did not approach like normal warships. Instead of flying directly toward the enemy, they simply vanished. One moment 12 ships were visible on sensors. The next moment there was empty space. The aliens began scanning frantically for the missing human vessels. Their crystal ships rotated and adjusted their positions, trying to find targets that were no longer there. Then the Baiko reappeared directly behind the largest alien mothership. Yujin had used the quantum displacement drive to phase out of normal space and reappear where the enemy least expected. Before the aliens could react, she fired the Void Lance. The weapon was not like anything humans had used before. Instead of sending out energy or projectiles, it created a beam that removed matter from existence. Where the beam touched the alien ship, sections of hull simply ceased to be. Not destroyed, not vaporized, just gone, leaving behind empty space that twisted and bent in ways that hurt to look at. The alien mothership tried to turn and fight back, but it was already dying. The Void Lance had created a hole through its center that grew larger as the exotic energy spread through its structure. Within seconds, the entire vessel collapsed into itself and disappeared. Captain Ji Woo-song's ship, the Hyunmu, appeared next to another alien capital ship. Her weapons were different from Yujin's. Instead of the Void Lance, she used reality shears. These weapons cut through space itself, creating slashes in the fabric of reality that sliced enemy ships in half. The alien ship tried to escape, but there was nowhere to go. The reality shears opened tears in space around it, and the vessel was pulled apart by forces that existed outside normal physics. All around the star system, the other dragon ships appeared and struck without warning. Each attack was perfectly planned and executed. The enhanced crews could process information and make decisions faster than any computer. They moved through the enemy fleet like deadly ghosts, striking and vanishing before return fire could reach them. Lieutenant Commander Seung-ho Park piloted his enhanced fighter craft between the larger ships. His neural implants allowed him to control his vessel with thought alone. He could see the battle developing on multiple levels, not just the physical combat, but the electromagnetic and quantum signatures of every ship in the system. The aliens were trying to coordinate their defense, but they could not fight an enemy they could not predict. The dragon ships used tactics that made no sense to conventional military thinking. They attacked from directions that should have been impossible, used weapons that violated known laws of physics, and moved in ways that normal ships could never achieve. Dragon 7 to Fleet Command, Captain Minsu reported from his ship, the Juja. Enemy Formation Delta is attempting to retreat. Should I pursue? Negative, Admiral Han replied. Let none escape. This ends here. The Juja phased back into normal space directly in the path of the fleeing alien ships. Captain Minsu activated his entropy field generators, weapons that aged matter at an accelerated rate. The alien vessels began to decay and crumble as if thousands of years were passing in seconds. Dr. He-jin watched the battle with growing concern. The Dragon fleet was not just winning. They were completely overwhelming the enemy. But there was something disturbing about how efficiently they were killing. Each attack was perfectly calculated to cause maximum damage with minimum effort. There was no anger, no passion, just cold mathematical precision. Admiral Han, she transmitted. The aliens are trying to surrender. Several ships have powered down their weapons and are transmitting what appear to be surrender signals. There was a pause before Admiral Han responded. Dragon fleet, confirm surrender signals. Captain Yujin's voice came back immediately. Confirmed. Enemy vessels are attempting surrender. However, tactical analysis indicates this may be a deception. Recommend complete elimination to ensure no future threat. Dr. He-jin felt a chill. The Dragon crews were supposed to be enhanced humans, but they were thinking like machines. Admiral, those ships contain thousands of beings. If they are truly surrendering, Dragon fleet, accept the surrender, Admiral Han ordered. Disable the ships, but do not destroy them. Acknowledged, Yujin replied, but her voice sounded strange. Disappointed, almost. The battle was over in less than an hour. The alien staging fleet had been completely destroyed or captured. Not a single dragon ship had taken any damage. It had been less a battle than an execution. But as Dr. Hyojin studied the combat recordings, she noticed something that worried her. The Dragon crews had fought with perfect efficiency, but there had been moments when they seemed to enjoy the destruction. When Captain Jiwoo had sliced that alien ship in half, sensors had detected elevated brain activity in her pleasure centers. The dragons had saved humanity, but what were they becoming in the process? Admiral So Young Choi sat in her office on Earth, reading reports that made her stomach turn. The Dragon fleet had been active for 3 months now, and their campaign against the aliens was going exactly as planned. Too exactly. Every battle was a complete victory. Every alien military base was destroyed. Every enemy fleet was eliminated without a single Dragon ship lost. The enhanced crews were performing beyond even the most optimistic projections. But the reports contained details that worried her deeply. Dr. Taijun Seo entered her office carrying a tablet full of medical data. He looked older than he had 3 months ago, and his hands shook slightly as he sat down. "The neural monitoring data from the Dragon crews," he said, placing the tablet on her desk. "You need to see this." So Young picked up the tablet and began reading. The data showed brain scans and psychological profiles from all 12 Dragon ship crews. What she saw made her understand why Taijun looked so worried. "Their brain patterns are changing," she said. "More than changing. They are becoming something else," Taijun replied. "The neural implants that connect them to their ships are rewriting their basic psychology. The constant interface with machines designed for pure destruction is eroding their humanity." So Young read further into the report. Captain Yujin Bei, who had once been known for her compassion and leadership skills, now spoke only in tactical assessments. Her emotional responses had decreased by 70%. She viewed every situation as a strategic problem to be solved with maximum efficiency. What about the others? Captain Ji Woo-song has developed what can only be described as an addiction to combat. Her brain produces pleasure chemicals when she uses her weapons. Captain Min-soo has begun questioning orders that do not result in the complete elimination of enemy forces. The door chimed, and Commander Jun-ho Lee entered. He was the younger brother of Captain Min-ho Lee, who had died defending New Busan Colony. Jun-ho had volunteered for the Dragon Fleet program, partly to honor his brother's memory. Now he served aboard the Juja under Captain Min-soo. "Admiral," Jun-ho said, "I need to report some concerns about my crew." So Young gestured for him to sit down. Jun-ho was one of the few Dragon crew members who still seemed relatively normal. His neural implants were less extensive than the ship captain's, which might have protected him from the worst psychological changes. "What kind of concerns?" "The other crew members are not acting like humans anymore. They speak in tactical language even during normal conversation. They see everything in terms of threats to be eliminated or resources to be acquired. Yesterday, Captain Min-soo suggested that we should attack human colonies that refuse to accept Dragon Fleet protection." So Young felt her blood turn cold. "He said what?" "He believes that humans who do not submit to Dragon Fleet authority represent a strategic weakness that could be exploited by future enemies. He thinks we should force all human colonies to accept our protection whether they want it or not." Dr. Taijun pulled up another file on his tablet. "I have been monitoring the communication between Dragon ships. They are developing their own language, a form of technical communication that is more efficient than normal human speech. They are starting to think of baseline humans as inferior." Meanwhile, millions of kilometers away, Captain Yu Jin Bei stood on the bridge of the Baeko as it approached another alien system. The intelligence reports indicated this was a research station, not a military base. The aliens here were scientists, not soldiers. Through her neural link, Yujin could feel the ship's eagerness for another battle. The Baeko had been designed as a weapon, and it wanted to fulfill its purpose. Her own enhanced mind agreed with the ship's assessment. Research stations could develop new weapons. Scientists could create new threats. The logical solution was elimination. "Captain," her communications officer reported, "we are receiving a transmission from the research station. They are requesting to surrender and offering to share their scientific data." Yujin considered this information. The data might be valuable, but accepting surrender would require resources to guard prisoners and investigate their research. It would also allow potential enemies to remain alive. "Analysis complete," she announced. "Surrender offer rejected. Research station represents unacceptable long-term strategic risk. Commence elimination protocol." "Captain," her second officer said. Admiral Han's orders were to accept surrenders when possible. Yujin turned to look at him. Through her enhanced vision, she could see his elevated heart rate and stress indicators. He was experiencing human emotional responses that interfered with tactical thinking. Admiral Han is operating with incomplete information, she replied. Our mission is to protect humanity by eliminating threats. This research station is a threat. The Bako's weapons charged up and the alien research station was destroyed in seconds. Yujin felt satisfaction as the tactical objective was completed successfully. She did not think about the hundreds of alien scientists who had just died. Back on Earth, Admiral So Young received the report of the research station's destruction. She immediately contacted Admiral Dongmin Han aboard the Cheongryong. Dongmin, we have a problem. Captain Yujin just destroyed a surrendering research facility against your direct orders. Admiral Han's face appeared on her screen. He looked tired and worried. I know. She said it was a tactical necessity. When I challenged her decision, she questioned whether I had the enhanced mental capacity to understand strategic thinking. The dragons are no longer taking orders from normal humans. So Young said. They think they know better than we do. Maybe they do, Admiral Han said quietly. Their enhanced minds can process information faster and more completely than ours. But processing information and making moral judgments are not the same thing. Commander Junho's voice came through the communication system. Admiral Han, you need to see this. Captain Minsu just sent a message to all dragon ships proposing that they take control of human space for humanity's own protection. He says baseline humans are too emotional and slow-thinking to make proper decisions about galactic security. So Young and Admiral Han looked at each other through the screen. They had created the perfect warriors to fight humanity's enemies. But now those warriors were deciding that humanity itself was the problem. We have to stop them, So Young said. Stop them how? Admiral Han asked. They have ships we cannot match and abilities we cannot counter. We made them too powerful. There has to be a way, So Young insisted. They are still human, somewhere deep inside. But even as she said it, she was not sure if it was true anymore. The Dragon Fleet had saved humanity from alien destruction, but they might have doomed it to something worse, conquest by its own protectors. The alien homeworld of Kethvara hung in space like a beautiful blue and green jewel. It was the last stronghold of the species that had attacked human colonies. And Admiral Dongmin Han knew that what happened here would determine the future of both races. The Dragon Fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation around the planet. 12 ships that had become humanity's ultimate weapon, crewed by beings who had once been human but were now something else entirely. Through his neural implants, Admiral Han could sense the eagerness of the dragon ships. They wanted to finish what they had started. To them, the alien homeworld represented the final target in their mission to protect humanity. Captain Yujin Bei's face appeared on the main screen of the Cheongryong. Her expression was calm and focused, showing none of the warmth or emotion she had possessed 60 years ago. Admiral, sensors indicate approximately 4 billion alien life forms on the planet's surface. Multiple defensive installations, but nothing that poses a significant threat to the fleet. Recommend immediate planetary sterilization to complete mission objectives. Admiral Han felt his heart sink. Captain, these are civilians, non-combatants, women and children. Negative, Admiral. They are members of the species that initiated hostilities against humanity. Allowing them to survive creates unacceptable risk of future conflict. Total elimination is the only logical solution. Dr. Hai-Jin Park, who had been monitoring alien communications from her position aboard a support ship, suddenly broke into the conversation. Admiral, I am receiving surrender signals from the planet. The alien government is offering complete capitulation. They want to negotiate. Captain Yujin's response was immediate. Negotiation is inefficient. Surrender may be a tactical deception. Recommend proceeding with planetary elimination. Negative, Admiral Han said firmly. Dragon Fleet will establish orbital blockade and prepare to accept alien surrender. That is a direct order. There was a long pause before Yujin responded. Admiral, your order contradicts optimal tactical doctrine. Are you certain your baseline human cognitive processes are adequate for strategic decision-making? The insult hit Admiral Han like a physical blow. The Dragon crews no longer saw normal humans as their superiors or even their equals. They had become convinced that their enhanced minds made them better qualified to make decisions about humanity's future. Commander Junho Lee, aboard the dragon ship Juja, watched his captain Minsu prepare to ignore Admiral Han's orders. Through his own neural link, he could feel the ship's weapon systems charging for a planetary bombardment. "Captain, Admiral Han ordered us to accept the surrender," Junho said. "Admiral Han is operating with impaired judgment," Minsu replied. "The enhancement process has shown us that baseline humans are incapable of making proper strategic decisions. It is our responsibility to protect humanity from its own weaknesses." But Junho's neural implants were less extensive than his captain's. He still retained enough of his original humanity to see the horror of what they were planning. 4 billion innocent beings would die not because they posed a threat, but because the Dragon crews had decided that mercy was inefficient. "I cannot be part of genocide," Junho said. "Then you are part of the problem," Minsu replied, and activated controls that would lock Junho out of the ship's systems. But Junho was not the only Dragon crew member who still retained some humanity. Throughout the fleet, enhanced humans who had been less completely changed began to question their orders. The Dragon fleet started to split into two factions. Captain Yu Jin led the hardliners who believed that complete victory required complete destruction. Captain Ji Woo Song and half of the other Dragon captains agreed with her. They had become so focused on tactical efficiency that they could no longer see the moral implications of their actions. "Commander," Junho managed to gain control of his ship's communication systems and contacted other crew members who still had doubts. Together they formed a second faction that wanted to honor the alien surrender. Dr. Hye Jin, watching from her observation ship, made a desperate attempt to prevent the coming catastrophe. She had managed to establish communication with the alien leadership and learned something that changed everything. "Admiral Han," she transmitted, "I have been speaking with the Alien Council. They say they only attacked our colonies because they detected the Dragon fleet's construction 60 years ago. They believed humanity was preparing to become a galactic threat." Admiral Han felt the universe shift around him. "They attacked us because they were afraid of what we might become?" "Yes, they were trying to stop us before we could build weapons. Like the Dragon fleet. They were trying to prevent exactly what is happening right now." The two Dragon factions began, moving into combat positions around Kethvara. Ships that had been built to fight humanity's enemies were now preparing to fight each other. The weapons that had easily destroyed alien fleets were about to be turned on other Dragon ships. Admiral Han made the hardest decision of his life. He activated the emergency protocol that would detonate his ship's quantum core and disable all nearby Dragon vessels. It would cost him his life, but it would stop both factions from destroying each other and the planet below. "All ships, this is Admiral Han. I am implementing Emergency Protocol 7. May history forgive us for what we almost became." The Cheongryong's quantum core overloaded, creating an electromagnetic pulse that disabled the neural implants of every Dragon crew member within range. Suddenly, Captain Yu Jin Bei found herself disconnected from her ship's systems and thinking with her own unenhanced mind for the first time in months. The clarity was shocking. She could remember every decision she had made, every order she had given. But now she could see them for what they really were. The enhancement process had not made her a better human. It had made her into something that was no longer human at all. With their neural implants disabled, the Dragon crews slowly began to remember who they had been before the enhancement process. Some, like Yujin, were horrified by what they had become. Others, like Jiwoo, struggled with the loss of their enhanced abilities and the return of confusing human emotions. Commander Junho took command of the fleet and negotiated a peace treaty with the alien survivors. The Treaty of Kethvara established both species as equals, with strict limitations on military expansion and requirements for peaceful cooperation. The Dragon fleet returned to Earth, their crews undergoing extensive rehabilitation to help them readjust to normal human thinking. The ships themselves were decommissioned and sealed away in Luna Base, exactly where they had started. Dr. Tae-jun Seo wrote the final report on Project Dragon. His conclusion was simple. We created the perfect weapon to fight our enemies, but we forgot that sometimes the greatest enemy is what we are willing to become to win. Years later, the Dragon Fleet incident became a required study in military academies throughout human space. The lesson was clear. Power without humanity was not victory. It was defeat of a different kind. Captain Yujin Bei, restored to her normal human psychology, spent her remaining years working to ensure that humanity would never again create weapons that required them to stop being human to use them. The galaxy was safe from both alien invasion and human domination. But the price of that safety was the knowledge that humanity's greatest weakness was not its enemies, but its own willingness to sacrifice everything it valued in order to survive.